I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll start with a Pledge of Allegiance. Flag is over there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome, everyone. Good evening. Item 2 is on our agenda for an executive session for pending litigation. Can I get a motion that we...
So I move that we go into executive session to discuss pending litigation.
Excuse this interruption. Santo, Antonio, Stephen, and Jeffrey, please go to the town hall meeting room. Santo, Antonio.
Well, Jeffrey will second
Jeffrey,
the motion.
please town hall meeting room.
There's a series of seconds out there for the motion. Discussion? All those in favor? Okay, good. Okay, item 3 on the agenda is our routine application. I'll call on our clerk, Mr. Drake.
Shall I read all 4 or the first
All
one
4.
only? All 4. The first one is SE 15 from the First Selectman's Office, which is a settlement, and we state the amount, right? Now that
Yes.
we're out, in the amount of $6,000. The second one is SE 16 from the First Selectman, which is a settlement in the amount of $25,000. The third item is ED 7 from the Board of Ed, $13,500, which is approval to use a grant. And the fourth one is PD 6 from the Police Department, $29,625, which is also approval to use funds.
Okay. Mr. Norton?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move to separate item SE 16 from the routine applications.
Okay, separate item 60, SC 16 for voting purposes. Okay, can we get a second on that?
Second.
Seconded. Discussion on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That motion is carried. So we'll take care of the routine applications first. So that would be SE 15, ED 7, and PD 6. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That motion is carried. SE 16 is a claim against the municipality, and in the discussions I heard about that, I as much as I see what the exposure is, I find it very difficult for someone who's jogging in February. I'm not sure what the weather was. I'm not sure what the conditions were. I'm not sure how long it had been since the area, the sidewalk had been cleaned or had been inspected, and I had indicated my interest into not supporting this this settlement. I understand what the claim could go. I fully understand that, but as we've just recently had, I mean, these are just we need to address this going forward. So that was the purpose of that. And I thank Mr. Norton for the motion. Discussion on that item? Okay. Item SC 16. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? I'm going to show that as 9 in favor, 3 against, 0 abstaining. That item is carried.
I'm sorry, I saw Ms. Oberlander and...
Me?
I'm sorry, I saw John Blanca, but I didn't see the chair. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. That moves us to item number 4 this evening, the assessor's report. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and fellow members of the BET. I'd like to present the assessor's report for April 2017. Okay, first of all, the 2016 grand list is complete. All the Board of Assessment Appeals notices have been sent, and I have an increase of 1.08% over the grand list of 2015, which is a good increase. We haven't seen that in a while. Second note on litigation. As I mentioned in March, we had 2 cases back in 2012. We've actually had we went to court. We had testimony for 2 days. That wasn't enough. So we have 2 more days scheduled in June. Hopefully, we will complete that 2012 litigation at that point in time. But we haven't even presented, the town has not begun to present our case yet. So fingers crossed on that. I have 11 pre-trials tomorrow. I have 2 on Wednesday, and I have 3 on Friday. The court calendar is is getting a little crazy. So we're doing our best. I wouldn't imagine that we're going to settle all of those in the next few days, but we shall see. One thing I'd like to also make note of is there's a press release that I added to your packet, and I'm going to be presenting that to the Board of Selectmen on Thursday. And what I'd like to start doing is, in the nicer weather, is start to go out and actually measure and list all those properties that we need to do so by the 2020 revaluation. We have a requirement through the state statutes that we visit each property and we measure it once every 10 years. I have run a report that basically says we have about 15,000 or so single-family homes, multifamily homes. Because of building permits, we have been to about 4,800 of those so far. When I have a building permit, one of our residential appraisers, if there's a garage that's being built, I ask them while they are there, measure the garage, but also verify the measurements of all the other structures as well. So therefore, we can consider that house being measured. It seems that we're going to have roughly about 3,300 parcels to do each summer. And if we start this summer, I'll have summer of 17, 18, and 19. So hopefully, by the time we're ready to do the 2020 revaluation, we will have visited and measured basically all of the properties. Okay, anybody have any questions about that?
So, I'm
Sure.
sorry. Because I want to report this on the media. So
Mm-hmm.
this is going to be a press release coming through Board of Selectmen and your office directly
Right.
to the media.
Right,
So people can expect that you have 15,000 inspections, about a third of them might have been done through work
right.
on their property in the past. And you're typically going to do this over 2 summers,
3 summers,
3 summers.
17, 18, and 19. That gives me 2020, that summer of 2020, if we need to do any additional work.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let me also explain, condominiums, because the declaration of condominiums is declared on the land records, we take what's declared on the land records. We will do a review of those, but not necessarily the same way as we will do the review of the single-family homes. Okay. We can do those during some of the winter months, because we just need to get in. We don't need to measure each condominium unit. What's declared on the land records is the measurements that we use. Okay.
Okay.
I'll make my usual comment if you want.
Oh, Ms. Turkington was first, but Mr. Norton has a comment also.
Congratulations on the litigation
Oh,
results.
getting there, yes.
And good luck this week with the pending cases.
Thank you.
So I was just going to move we accept the assessor's report?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? I would just ask.
Sure.
Let me know when you're doing this, because there'll probably be some phone calls, and
Oh, absolutely, yes.
so, just,
It's out, if anybody has any questions or comments about that, it hasn't been released yet, so I'm more than happy to discuss it as far as the procedural as to how we're going to go through this process.
I thought this board would want to know this information.
Oh, no, I think
and
this
see
is
the draft
important.
and be aware that this was going to begin happening so that, you could alert your friends, and also the same thing with the Board of Selectmen, just to kind of alert them, because otherwise they get phone calls just like you might.
no. Okay.
Just one quick question, Mike. Is this the same procedure as the last physical reval in terms of the measurement? Like, we do that every time?
You're supposed to.
Okay, all right, that's right, I forgot about that.
I'm not quite sure if you actually did it.
We had a little issue.
There were some issues, but
Okay.
we'll let that go. We're just going forward here, yeah, okay? Thank you.
Wait a minute, can I just, just a
Yes.
quick,
Sure.
just a comment.
Mhm.
It seems to me if the concern is that people are going to be raising questions and calling officials about this going on, why not have a press release that lays out what's going to happen and when? So we've at least put on notice this community that this is going to be a process that's undertaken in preparation of the 2020 reval.
There's a couple of issues that we have to, and I'll discuss this with the selectmen as well, I'm sure, but we have to be careful. I don't want to necessarily advertise as to where we're going. because then that leads to the ability for somebody else to go in one of our places. So I'm very cautious about how we're actually going to do this. So as much as it would be wonderful for us to have the ability to notify everybody and make an appointment, we don't have the manpower in which to do that. But I also don't want to say, okay, we're going to be on North Main Street or North Street and on such and such a date, if A, we're not there, or somebody else decides to go out in our place. So I'll just keep, this is kind of the start of the process. This is not necessarily I'm just starting to slowly, and we'll see what the Board of Selectmen and their feedback about this, but I'd like to kind of keep it, I'd like not to advertise exactly where we're going to be for security purposes.
So-
And we never have.
So
Yeah.
you can, obviously, you can simply, deal with the police department and let them know.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we did a lot of this over the course of the 2015 revaluation, and we had a few calls, but for the most part, we had people out there for the whole summer, and overall, we had very few complaints or concerns. And a lot of people called, were just concerned about it, but it really didn't create any real issues for us.
But the draft that's in here seems generic enough that it might be at least an acknowledgement that there is the beginning of the process without,
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying you have to tell them where and when and who. but
That we're starting
I'm
the,
just saying,
yes.
just
this is the-
generally, just generally. that
Okay.
this is- and you've already got a draft here, so I just thought that was.
Okay. I mean, as far as this summer, this is when we're going to start doing this. I would actually like the town of Greenwich to get under the idea that assessors, there's going to be people from the assessor's office. That's our job, is to be outside, is be in the field. And I think if more and more people kind of get used to that idea, our residential appraisers need to be out in the field. We're going to be there. Okay?
Okay, we've had a motion, it's been approved. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have fun in court.
Yeah.
That brings us to item number 5, our controller's report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, BET members. One quick update, the Steamboat Road Pier/Landing Report Safety Inspection is ready. We canceled the BET Audit Committee meeting last week, and Mr. Norton has informed me that we will be meeting this Friday morning at 8 o'clock in the Gisborne Room, hopefully, to accept the report and then publicly release it to the certain public people that have connections to the yacht club requested it, RTM members, and of course the BET and everybody else. The second update is on the first page, Ron Lally retired, and we went through an extended interview process. We offered the job to Megan Amato in the law department. She's accepted. Her start day is May 8th. And finally, before I open up the questions, the last item in the controller's report, my personal thanks to Roland Geiger and Mary Walzakowski for the 56th straight year. We got the certificate of conformance report for excellent financial reporting, and I thanked them at the very end of the report,
Yes, I saw that.
which hopefully you expect that every year from us. Any questions on the controller's report? Mr. Raymer?
Did I hear you say that the safety inspection of the Steamboat Pier was conducted at the request of the members of the yacht club?
No.
Is that what you said?
No. When we had the audit committee meeting 2 weeks ago, 2 members, one of them is connected to the yacht club. I don't know the second member,
2 members of what?
the yacht club.
Okay.
And I don't know if the other member was just an interested party that lives on that street, attended the meeting, and it was not ready for release. So we made a promise that when it goes public, that I would electronically send it to him.
Was the subject, the safety audit, the designation of this subject, was that a decision of the audit committee? Was it a decision of the insurance company? Was it a decision of the selectman's office? How was that reached?
Actually, it came out of 2 members that are sitting here on the BET, Ms. Weisler and Ms. Tarkenton. The safety inspection was done Monday morning, March 27th, And they had made requests through me to the risk manager and then to the safety consultants. So we went out and did the safety inspection of Steamboat Road Pier/Landing along with the Williams Street playing field, the one with they put the snow fence around and they're going to take the bleachers out. And then subsequent to that night, and I'm going to need some help on this, the BET was meeting to vote on the budget, and you were about to condition the funds, and I had made a statement that we had already done, based on the inspection, that we had already done it. So to answer your question, it came informally from Ms. Tarkenton and Ms. Weissler, through me, through the risk manager, to the safety consultants.
But the request for that is the subject matter that was sourced with Mrs. Weissler and Mrs. Tarkenton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Weissler was next.
Yeah, congratulations, Pete and Roland, on another award, so terrific work on all your part. I did have a question on the purchasing card implementation. It sounds like we're moving forward with that. I was just wanted to understand, at the end of that report, you say something like 17 vendors have signed up and there are 252 more calls. I mean, do we need all of them to agree, or is it just as many as we can get to agree? To participate, we can go live with it.
Well, first of all, they have to agree.
Right, but
to go to it.
Right, but we don't have to
252
get all of them to do it.
No,
Yeah,
no,
okay, that's
no,
what I
no.
wanted to
It's just-
clarify.
It's just,
More
that's the
economical, yeah.
total number of candidates potentially out there.
Okay.
And then as we get new vendors through the years, they become a candidate.
Okay, great.
No,
all
we
right.
don't need anywhere near 252.
Okay, that's, okay, great, thank you.
Who was that, Mr. Norton, did you want something?
No, yes. Would you give us a little update on the status of the parking services audit?
An update? I prefer not to.
Okay.
I can,
Well,
I
what-
can,
it's
beyond
status.
what I've written in the controller's report, it's the parking services audit, the draft has been released to the audit committee. It got put aside, and because of the number of cash transactions that weren't being reconciled, that the internal auditor identified. We had concerns between myself, the risk manager, and the internal auditor to get the assistance of the Greenwich Police Department. It actually became an arrest, and what has become now, and I think this is where you're going with an update, we've expanded the scope of the parking services audit to a forensic audit. What they're doing now is they're identifying and quantifying the number of transactions that didn't reconcile in the area of cash, in the area of parking fines and smart cards. The downside to all of this is that my internal auditor has been pulled off the town clerk cash handling review and other areas that we can go into. Also listed in there is the tools for schools, which reviews that won't be interrupted. But basically, it's turned into a forensic audit for the police department.
That's exactly what I wanted, Pete, because I've been asked questions about where is it? And the audit won't be completed until the forensic audit is completed. And that's basically what I wanted to establish.
Okay.
So when we do a forensic audit, are we doing, the audit committee, whoever, is it doing it internally, or are they hiring outside party to supplement the?
The expertise lies with the internal auditor. The internal auditor was hired late last summer. This is her first assignment. This is probably, in my opinion, the toughest assignment she'll ever have. Hopefully, it won't, some of her other assignments don't go down the same path where you have defalcations of public funds. But she solely identified the transactions where the cash was missing, gained the assistance of the police department, and they performed additional steps for the affidavit proving that the cash was in fact missing. What she's doing now is quantifying, and I don't know how far back this lack of reconciliation goes, for the, I guess, the court system. And if it comes to the point where this individual is in fact proven to be guilty, some form of restitution would be made. Also, we have an insurance policy that covers crime, theft, and we've got a $50,000 deductible. But what you can, beside missing funds, if you can in fact prove that they're missing, you can also recoup audit expense, the work of the police department, and any legal expenses that we incur. So there's a couple of areas that we're working on here.
Thank you.
Mr. Craig?
You mentioned the assistant auditor, right?
The internal auditor.
Internal auditor. I'm sure all of us, and you, but everyone takes defalcation so seriously that we'd just like to commend her and you, whoever deserves to be recognized for finding that kind of thing. It's important work, and it's important that it be done. Can you tell us her name? Just, I don't know who the person is.
Melinda Frame, Frame,
Yeah.
as a
Someday I'd like to meet her and shake her hand, but anyway, perhaps you could tell her on behalf of all of us, that's good work.
I will. Thank you.
Ms. Silverling?
Given that there's been an arrest made and substantial substantiation of the lost revenues, doesn't our insurance policy now kick in to cover the cost of a forensic auditor that would free up Ms. Frame's ability to focus on her other assignments and have an outside consultant come in and perform this work?
As I stated a minute or two, I think she's highly qualified to do the forensic audit.
I know she's
I-
highly qualified, but that wasn't my question. My question was, doesn't our insurance policy provide coverage for this kind of expense?
Yes.
So maybe that's something that we should discuss as to whether we should be bringing in.
Definitely.
I can defer to the audit committee if you want to engage an outside firm.
Well, that's,
First of all, it might meet the requirements of the purchasing department where you have to put it out to bid.
it's also my understanding the police department requested her to do the forensic audit.
Yes, she's, in other words, there's no learning curve with Melinda. Hiring a forensic, a
Forensic.
CPA firm to do the forensic audit, or other former public safety officials that are qualified in this area would go through a learning curve, and it might, I don't know if that's the best step or a necessary step.
What is your anticipated timetable for the completion of her audit?
Forensic audit.
I would normally say a couple weeks. The only problem is we don't know how many years this may go back. And you're reconstructing records that you have to find. And they have to be reconstructed to the point where they clearly have to show that cash is missing. We might be going back, and I'm speculating now, that there might be a period where the records are not good. And then she might be spinning her wheels, wasting time. But to answer your question, I don't know how many years we may be going back.
I understand that, but I would not want the rest of this body to hold up the release of an audit report
Oh,
based on the completion of the forensic audit, spending the time of our internal auditor when we have the capacity to hire an external auditor under our insurance policies, and she could be focused on other things. So I think we'll need to balance carefully the time and attention that she's spending on this audit against the greater good in having some of the other recommendations implemented.
that'll be an item for discussion at the May Audit
May
Committee meeting.
Yeah, we have an audit committee meeting, I guess, tentatively scheduled for Friday, perhaps that's something we want to talk about then.
You'd have to, I'll defer to the chair, the
That's a
BET Audit
special
Committee
meeting
chair.
for- Mr. Rammer?
Yeah, I join with Ms. Overlander's thought with that. The other factor, it seems to me, is that not only is it then paid by insurance, but in a situation in which there's actually been a defalcation, I think it was a good policy for the town to have it be looked at independently, not have it looked at wholly within staff, so the public is left with a concern of, is everything that didn't go well been revealed? If you have an independent auditor come and take a look at it and do the work, it has a sunshine to it, an overtness to it that I think is good public relations with the public that I hope are paying attention when we have problems like this that happen in the operations. So especially since we wouldn't be paying for it, I see a value in it. It frees Ms. Frame up to go back to her other duties. I'm sure she would still have to spend substantial time to bring the outside auditor up to speed. But I like the idea of having an endorsement of the outcome from an independent source like an outside auditor.
It's my understanding that the police asked Ms. Frame to perform the audit relating to the return date of the charges made against the individual. I believe that that's within the next few weeks, and they want a preliminary report at that point in time to be able to proceed with their case.
Their case, right. Okay. On the controls report,
Move to accept?
one second. I thought our assessor was busy, and I circled all the highlights, and the certificate of achievement, that's just amazing. But what I think the board really needs to know is the annual budget process. What you're not hearing is how much work has been done by Finance Department with the RTM committees. Risk management, we just touched on what's going on there. Between the internal audit and risk manager, you've just hired someone for that. Retirement board is up, looking at a significant change going forward. You've been part of that. Thank you. I mean, it's just, this is our busiest time of year with the budget, and to have all of this going on, it's just bless. That's all I can say. So I think that's just pretty amazing. I will tell you this morning, I mean, it was 2 hours and change with Roland and Peter and Budget Overview Committee members and your Finance Committee members and all the communications back and forth to us on what's going on. It's just above and beyond this year. This is amazing. And I thank you both, and Roland's here too, but I will say it's very busy.
And we still have a couple more before May 8th. We're meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and then they want to come in and interview the treasurer and her operations.
Wow, okay.
We'll be ready May 8th.
We'll be ready May 8th. Okay, I'll accept the motion to accept the controllers report.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? That motion is carried. I think we get fairly easy here. Treasurer's report is next.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. I do not have anything for liaisons. Obviously, we are all busy with that. Special project teams, we're all busy with budget. I have new business.
Before you get there, Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
want to make the announcement that I'm going to schedule a special audit committee meeting with one item for Friday morning at 8 o'clock. It'll be posted tomorrow morning.
May we inquire what the item is?
Steamboat Road.
Release of the inspection done for the risk manager.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Norton. Thank you for getting me up so early. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Special project team, new business. We may have one other item we want to look at under new business. BET meeting schedule changes. I had 2 requests come for this July and this December. And I put this on here because obviously our calendar is very important. A lot of people are part of the calendar, scheduling meetings, taking minutes, doing video, all of the above. If I'm thinking correctly, we're looking to move the July meeting to the 13th of July.
14.
Let me look. I'm sorry. No, July 2017, we're scheduled for the 17th.
You're
and we-
right, sir.
And we want to move it back to Thursday, the 13th,
Correct, that's what we were talking about before.
okay? I'm open for suggestions, I picked that day. And then for December, and I will get to a conclusion, we're scheduled for the 18th, and the audit committee's the 14th, so I was thinking that Thursday night, the 14th. So what I would ask everybody to do, unless anybody has some other dates to consider, a couple days, an email back that those work or not work, or... July meeting is usually light, it's the first month of the fiscal year. We're not doing capital project closeout. What happens in July a lot of times is a little bit of continued force, but any transfers for year-end closeout. And then December is a normal busy month. The audit, we have the audit in December that comes before us, if I'm not mistaken. So those are the known items for those months. So again, any emails, any communications, if you want to check those dates. Moving on to new business. Mr. Lash, did you have something you would like to,
I just want to call the members' attention to when we had the Budget Committee meeting, Ms. Moriarty undertook to draft some notes for our reference as we go out to meet with the subject matter committees and the district committees of the RTM. That has been sent to you in draft form, and if you have comments about that, you can pass them on to Ms. Moriarty. This is not anything more than talking points that we've developed in response to things that we've heard at district meetings and at subject matter committee meetings, as well as the draft of the document which the Budget Overview Committee produced some time ago. So this summarizes the budget as the Budget Committee understood it, as it drafted it, and as it was finally approved by the BET. And I encourage you to offer any comments you have to Ms. Moriarty, and she can, volunteering her time to update her memo, and then we can have it for reference as we go out into the field in the next week.
Ms. Weissler?
I wanted to thank Leslie for the work she did on it. I thought she did a terrific job, and I wanted to raise the question, it's talking points, but it is something that we should actually email to RTM members? No, you don't think so?
No, it's a draft document. It's not on our agenda for
Well,
us
not-
to
yeah,
approve or
okay.
anything.
All right, from
So
process.
I would say it's in draft, and obviously you're being asked tonight to see if there's any revision or number checking. Actually, Roland and Peter have been sent a copy of the draft, and I wouldn't want to forward anything until they review any numbers or.
I wasn't suggesting forwarding this draft. I was suggesting when it gets finalized, should it then be distributed?
We can make that decision. Let's see what input we get from our members and.
Because I think we have, out there is the budget overview report, which is circulating, and, if you were to sort of, after it gets finalized, the numbers are fully vetted, then this would be the sort of BET position paper on the budget, which might have greater circulation than us just talking through at various district and committee meetings.
I would hold off because I believe the Budget Overview Committee is, and I'll ask maybe Roland or Peter, I think they're in full revision mode of their original document.
As Mike mentioned before, we met with two members of the Budget Overview Committee for a couple hours this morning, one day, a couple weeks ago for 4 hours. We've been working on this for like 3 weeks, maybe? The document that everybody saw, you wouldn't recognize it. It's been changed so dramatically and been updated to be more accurate and supported as far as the numbers. So I'd throw away the document that you got a couple weeks ago. It's this document that we have is totally different, and it's more informative, and it's, as I said, the numbers are supported. You may not agree with everything that's in it, meaning the BET members or even some RTM members, but they can support now, for example, the $13 million figure versus another figure, okay? But that document should be ready for release tomorrow for their workshop tomorrow night, and then for further discussion Wednesday night at the BOC meeting.
So we'll see how that progresses. But I too, I want to thank, obviously, our Ms. Moriarty and Mr. Lash for doing that and editing and going back and forth. I've seen the communications going back and forth. So tomorrow, like you've heard, tomorrow night is their workshop on that. So I wouldn't be even shocked if at their workshop, they don't even do revisions from where they're at. So I want to let that go. But no, again, thank you. Old business, I have nothing. BET minutes, regular meeting, March 20th.
So I move that we approve the regular meeting, March 20th, 2017 minutes. Do you want me to do all three?
No, we can do them one at a time if you want. Do I have a second on the March 20th?
Seconded.
Seconded by Mr. Norton or Mr. Raymer. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That brings us to our public hearing from March 23rd, 2017.
So I move we approve the public hearing, March 23, 2017 meeting minutes.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Norton. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
So I-
Opposed? Abstaining? And then decision day, March 27th.
So I move that we approve the decision day, March 27, 2017 BET meeting minutes.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Norton. Discussion?
Yeah.
Ms. Oberlander?
I'd like to just change two references. In the minutes on the draft minutes, page 6, the motion to reduce the annual paving budget by $1 million. In the opposed parenthetical, please replace Turner with Overlander. And on page 7, in the motion to condition the Greenwich Avenue streetscape proposal, similarly, please replace Turner with Overlander in the opposed parenthetical.
Sorry, where's that?
Page 7,
Yeah.
on the top,
What's at the top? Sorry.
motion to condition.
Opposed was Overlander, not Turner, you said?
Correct.
Okay.
Come on, Kat, they don't make anything alike.
Okay. Any further corrections or additions? So, Mr. Drake, you have that?
Yes, we'll
Okay.
make those changes when they're voted. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? That has carried with those corrections. Mr. Drake, do you have anything else for us this evening?
No, nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Norton? I have very little other than thank you, everyone. We have a really busy couple weeks coming ahead of us, and I'm, if I hear of any other added committee meetings or any special meetings, I'll be sure to inform you, and we'll hopefully have some good attendance, and we'll see what the representative town meeting thinks of our budget recommendations.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Move the adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.